Everybody just keep it cool, while others are being taken for fool. Hey, slow down, slow down, slow down.
Hey, George.
Hey, how are ya?
The Cosmic Shrek.
It's good to see ya.
Good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Is it Jaba or Yaba?
It's Jaba.
Chaba.
Yes.
Nice.
How are you?
Yeah, yeah, really, really good.
How are
Yeah,
things going? Was quiet?
it's been really good and quiet. Cynthia and I, we went away for the ending of the cycle and had some really fantastic experiences. We went to some stone circles and really, really enjoyed our time away.
In Australia?
No, we went to, excuse me, we were called to a stone circle in England.
Uh-huh.
And we went to Wales and Scotland and France. Yeah, it was a very busy time,
Oh,
but it was very,
so you was around, not far from here.
yeah, not too far.
That's good. And how is the book going?
The course I'm writing at the moment, it's more than halfway there, I would say. Probably another couple of months away.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the Super
Yeah.
Who radio is coming up soon
Super
again.
Radio. Yeah, I'm going to do another interview soon, so we're due for another one.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
And Jabba, tell me about your show, Babylon Decoded. Is it a radio program or what is it?
It's Babylon Decoded. I set up a website. I'm coming from the reggae music, and in reggae, Babylon is like the system, the history, the whole lie, and this. And I was 20 years in reggae music, so that was the perfect name to decode the whole matrix. And I really started very simple and not really long time ago, from since the 21st of December. I always saw it like a start to a new beginning,
Yeah.
instead like the end that everybody was talking about and promoted through the media and stuff. And yeah, I had a quite authority in the music and stuff, and I make a song that went quite around the world, traveled around, and therefore I had a lot of experience in different countries, and that opened a lot the mind and the perception. And I was listening to Goeorge Kavassilas a lot, and for me it's like you say, it's not to follow something or to believe in something. It's really to listen and to get just what you can get out of it. And that for me was for me the messenger is not important. It's only the message and what you can get out of it. Therefore I like to go into completely different stories since long time. I learned to to think abstract, like that was is one of my favorite thing to do, and
Yeah.
that helps to expand the consciousness.
It's
Um,
amazing how many people get caught up with the messenger and focus on the messenger and forget about the message. It's unbelievable how much that happens.
yeah, that's why I also stopped the music, because it's the same. I think it's a little bit everything, like in the music. It's the whole focus is on the artist, and the art get completely lost. That was
Yeah.
and I made not music that the people watch me. I want that they listen to the music and to the message, and
Yeah.
that get completely lost for me. That's why I think the people need some real hard words sometimes to get awake. All right, can you tell us more about the final equinox? How
The
you
final equinox. Yes.
was it, or do we have to wait more?
No, for me it was
Mm-hmm.
an equinox which was the turning point. It was, for me, it was a big shift that took place. and I had quite profound experiences. I ended up, I made sure I made time in my life that I would honour this time, and I did, and so did my wife Cynthia and some friends of ours. And there was a group of people that we felt into where we needed to be on Mother Earth's body for that equinox. And we followed our hearts, we made time, and we had really, really profound experiences and a lot of personal, deeply personal experiences. But also we came to, collectively too, everybody was getting the same information. We came to realise that the time of sacrifice is now over, the hardship of sacrifice, and mostly the sacrifice of the feminine is now over. There's no need for that any longer. It doesn't have to be there. So some people probably want to continue that program habitually. We still have the residue of all that, like it's been a very deep epoch, an era of time, hasn't it, that we've been indoctrinated and immersed in these very strong programs. So we kind of we habitually want to keep going with them because we still can't, parts of us can't see any further than the programs. So, but all in all, it's important for us to know that we don't really need them anymore. They're done. We've honoured our agreements in that area of life. And so now it's important for us to realise that it's our time now. We're entitled and we are worthy to have good things in life now. And the pain and the misery of the idea of sacrifice is finished. And so that was really, really a big one for us, to all of us get that same message, that same information, and that same deep knowing. And and that knowing isn't just on our personal level, it's in conjunction with our relationship with our Mother Earth planet, that she no longer needs to be in a state of sacrifice. She's honoured her commitment towards us as a humanity to facilitate this journey, to endure incredible pain and suffering for us, for her too, but for us,
And this
because we're her children.
This cycle, how long this cycle went on now? Because I see it like a cosmic journey that whole humanity with planet Earth had to go through. And I see it a little bit now like the peak of the duality, like the things are very tense and everything is, like you say also, that this kind of time is over is in a kind very difficult to see how the things are going in the world. And I think that the peak is, we still didn't reach the peak where the people could see the full intense of the duality.
I agree and I disagree with that. I'll agree that I disagree because I reached my personal peak, my maximum compression, and I reached that. And now it's like you climb the mountain and I got to the top of that mountain and now I'm working my way down the mountain.
Okay.
And I know that the majority, there's many people out there who also have reached the peak. And there's quite a few of us on the planet. There's many. And I know that the majority, though, are still in the process of achieving that. But the template, the energetic templates for achieving that have now been set in place. Maximum compression in a background sense, in an energetic template sense, has been achieved. Now it's for everybody else to catch up, if that makes sense. Because we're all walking down this path. We're all walking down the path, and we can't all walk exactly at the same time down the path all across in the woods, can we, all at the same time? Some meander in front of others, some fall behind, and there's just those of us who are walking ahead. And that's the way I can explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you see it will? I see definitely a lot of people waking up. That is no doubt about that. For me, it's just I see it a little bit that the planet and the whole humanity only can switch if we are all in the same boat. That like the switch can really happen. I mean that this I see it a little bit is shaking like that, and until it really comes to the point. And I wait for that moment, because I see that a lot of people still suffering and don't see it, and therefore I think
That's the part where I agree, that it feels like it hasn't happened yet. That's where I agree with you. It seems like it hasn't happened yet, but it has. It's just it hasn't happened for the majority of the people, if that makes sense.
makes
For
sense.
them, it hasn't happened yet, but the energetic templates for it to happen is there if they want it.
It's a little bit like the light. How much stronger the light is to the darkness? 7%.
I don't know about those sorts of figures. Yeah, but definitely there's a strong influx of light energies at the moment, of the positive charge of energy is coming in at the moment. It's a very strong influx of that energy. And for me, I don't want to get caught up in just that energy either. You know, I look at the negative and the positive. I embrace both and transcend into another state of being beyond both of those.
I see it a little bit like a dark box, really close, and if you open it a little bit, it's already not dark anymore. And but you cannot open it too quickly, if not everybody gets blinded, and that is also what we don't want.
Yeah, like when you wake up and you first open your eyes, and it's a bit, it's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can really get too blinded if the light is really too strong in one
Yeah,
time. And that is, I think, it's not an awakening for humanity neither.
Yeah, it needs time, doesn't it?
What do you think about still, even if we are in this kind of period, like Boston bombing, martial law, and what kind of, is that really like the dark, or like the old paradigms who really want to catch on the old?
I see that as the old paradigm, that and I see it as a faction of the old paradigm, because the old paradigm has so many different layers to it. There's a lot of energies that we still need to work through as a humanity. There's layers of energies that we need to work through, and this energy of the military and the idea of the one world order being militaristic in its control and immersed in like an artificial intelligence, for example, which is the way humanity is being assimilated. That's one layer. That's one faction. You know, the disclosure that's coming up now with the Vatican, who are leading the disclosure on the planet. They want to take charge of it because it has to, you know, be assimilated into their religious infrastructure. And now we're seeing, you know, disclosure on two fronts as well. And if you look at like the arena of, you could say, people that are more awake, there's also, you could look at it from the point of view of the arena of the conspiratorial arena, like a domain, like an arena. So they're filling that up first with disclosure before it spills out into the more mundane public arena. If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
So, but the disclosure now on two fronts now in the public, coming from two different groups, which are really quite closely aligned behind the scenes, but they appear to be slightly different in the public persona. And one of them's coming from, as you know, it's called the Disclosure Project, and there's another group doing a citizens disclosure. Ultimately, behind the scenes, behind all of that and the extraterrestrials involved in this disclosure movement, the way I see it, the whole lot on the planet is actually influenced and controlled by a private arm of the Jesuit order, and it has to do with a connection to an extraterrestrial group, a particular extraterrestrial group, out into the galactic arena and further out into the cosmic arena. So That's what I see going on, and that Jesuit group is also has its agenda. So it's not totally aligned with the Vatican disclosure, but if you see the Vatican disclosure as one faction, and then you see these other disclosures as other factions. So there's an overall disclosure program going on, but you've got different groups that are fighting it out that want control over the disclosure program down here in the earthly arena because they have their own interests, their own agendas.
And it's not that the at the moment, also with like we can already talk about the OPPT and all that thing. What do you think about OPPT?
Well, I said from the beginning, I feel it was definitely heading in the right direction. I didn't get time to look into it deeply. Honestly, I didn't. I'm just too busy writing and doing my own thing. But, excuse me, I found that for me, from what I saw of it, and I know people who are involved in it, and they're really good people, that they were definitely heading in the right direction. For me, ultimately, it has to do, I always look at my sovereignty as the most important, and my infinite sovereignty for me is the most important. So you can't put that inside a framework. It must flow with the natural unfoldment of life. So it's
that is my point. That the sovereignty you lose when you sign up with UCC, then you give it to a public trust, and it's all that trick with the law make that the people on the UCC are just like one more time a commerce entity. And that is like all what the New World Order is heading. But for me, the main question in all this is, like you say, is different people are playing different agendas. And I see it almost like we was talking before about the whole universal conspiracy to go to that point of duality. Everybody's playing his game that he had to play. Like I explain to people, like if we're gonna meet the soul of somebody after, I think even if it's somebody like Hitler, we're just gonna say, "Wow, you did it hard," and he said, "Yeah, I know." So that is.
But he can turn around and say to you, "How much did I teach you?"
Yeah, exactly. That is like also that I also say that the body pain, we don't get it for our soul. Our soul don't feel the body pain. It's just experience in this sense. And therefore, I don't know who play exactly which game and in which side it's heading, but still that whole New World Order and bringing people to even bigger bondage with all this one currency, digital currency, Bitcoin, and also this OPPT and all these different kind of things. Of course, everybody's playing his game, but I think the game is also that the people are staying aware of what is really going on and who they really are. Instead, we are on a point that a lot of people still following others without really knowing who they are. And I think there are a lot of tricks outside still. Like for me, OPPT is really one of the last trick, how I call them, to really follow something without really investigating and really know what is going on. And that is a little bit for me, like a little bit the last trick. People think, oh, now I'm awake, I'm aware what is going on the earth, let's do this. It's like jumping from limit to another limit. And that is a little bit for me the hard point what is going on today, that the people really stay aware. But it's giving also another confusion.
Is it like going from a small playground to a bigger playground?
Yeah. Like you say about sovereignty, freedom is only a certain limit, like a lion in a zoo. Sovereignty is the real thing. And
Sovereignty is the real thing. To
yeah.
be autonomous is the word in English, sovereign and autonomous, which means you completely function under your own auspice or your own energy, your own soul is what guides you, what drives you, what steers you, because that's the part of you that's one with the creator of the universe and one with everything else. So it's functioning from that level within oneself, I feel is what I'm aiming for and in the process of achieving. And I know it's achievable. I know it is.
Okay.
We all can achieve that if we want to.
Yes, we can, definitely. What do you think about the influence of words, spelling words like magicians? It's like...
Yeah, language is interesting, isn't it? Words are like vehicles that convey energy and ideas.
And
Intentions.
if it's like I changed, like I don't use believe anymore.
I seem to be choosing my words better these days. I'm careful about even how I think. If I think in words, what thoughts I have and the way I use my thoughts with what words that I have. I've been really focusing on that lately. And people say, thank God. They're always thanking God. And it's kind of like, well, what about also thanking your being? Because you're co-creating with the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting programs that are in our cultures, and people go, oh, God willing, and it's God's will, and it's your will.
Yeah.
And you're creating with the creator of the universe, and we're equal with the creator of this universe. So it's really interesting, and they go, oh my God, and I say, oh my goodness, because I don't want to keep giving my power away to a God entity.
Yeah.
So what these, when something happens, people go, Jesus Christ, why are they saying that? Because they're giving the power over to that entity, and they're acknowledging that entity is responsible for what happens in their lives. So they're no longer in control of their lives. They're not taking responsibility for the co-creative process they're in. They're handing it over to some other entity. And every time someone says that, it sends a little charge of energy to that entity that it feeds off. So they're empowering that entity every time they do it. It's like you have this big depository, and each time something happens, someone puts $1 in to a deposit because something happened. Every time, if you took $1 for every time someone said, Jesus Christ, or Jesus, like that sort of thing, in our Western world, other cultures, they use other deific names, right? And you put $1 in, you can imagine how big that would become after a while. No, after 1,700 years of people saying that name, you can imagine how big the depository of energy has become, how much they've empowered that entity more and more and more all the time. And that's not the ways of the Christ. The true Christ does not feed off other people.
I also changed, I replaced understanding by overstanding. Because
I'd have to understand the context, the context in which you're using it.
Well, I really replaced it all the time, because I think if somebody tells you you understand, you really understand instead to overstand.
Yeah.
I was watching.
That's really clever.
Yeah, that comes from Bob Marley. Bob Marley used that.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And I really saw that the spelling of words is magic. And you really create it in this way. And
yeah, especially if you're writing lyrics too and songs which you'd understand. My goodness. Yeah, that's a very powerful thing, isn't it?
I did not understand a word of English until my age of 16, but I was listening to Bob Marley since my age of 10. When I get the translation of the songs, I knew exactly what he was singing, word by word. So that is really the subconscious. I saw like how it's powerful to work with the subconscious, but it's also dangerous. So I never allowed myself to use like war or fight or all that words. I never used in my lyrics, or really when I could not do differently. But like the fighting part, all that, for me, it's not a fighting. It's really like it's a balance and a overstanding of the things. What do you know about the influence of Switzerland, and do you know something about that?
The influence of Switzerland.
To the world?
In the words or
No,
in the world?
in the world, yeah.
I think for a long time it has had a hidden hand in global influence, especially in the Western world. It's been very powerful. I'm going to go as far as saying you're probably looking at Australia as being the new Switzerland now for this new era. Even though the new era will be very short, might only be a few years or a couple of years or 1 year. But that's what they're trying to set Australia up as, the new Switzerland. So I feel that the role that Switzerland has played is coming to an end. I think it's over.
What I found out is that Switzerland, you're born as sovereign, like also on the birth certificate, you're sovereign, and everything that is created in Switzerland can get the sovereign status. So we have UN, we have FIFA, they don't pay taxes, and you also have all the ambassadors around the world. They're on sovereign land, because UN gets sovereign status in Switzerland. It's the same for the Swiss Guard in the Vatican. So therefore, legally, you cannot go back to the sovereign with like civil law. That is what.
Have you ever asked yourself how is it that the Swiss Guard is the one chosen to guard the Vatican?
Well, Switzerland, the real name of Switzerland is Helvetia. Helvetia, and we have a lot of pharaoh symbols, and the whole banking system is like with that whole reptilians and stuff, that energy, that whole dynasty, and that is why. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say I know for sure, but I have my ideas about it, and that is that that because of the corporate infrastructure that's running the planet, that's taking control of the planet, it is the banking infrastructure and the safe haven for the people who have been, controlling a lot of things in the past. I won't say so much for the people, but for the corporate entities that have been running things in the past. The people, they live in other places, but the corporate infrastructure has had its home base in Switzerland for a long time. And the Vatican and the corporate infrastructure are totally one unit.
Yeah,
it's what has been used to completely control the world.
and that you say that is finished now.
That there's two things going on. It's making its final move to have total dominance over the world, because it's been working on this project for a long time. But at the same time, it's falling apart.
And do you know why? Technically,
Well, it's falling apart because there is another layer beyond the Vatican and the corporate infrastructure on the planet. There's another layer. Because the control on the planet goes into the galaxy, goes off-world, and goes interdimensional and off-world. And so you've got those layers now, the off-world and the interdimensional layers, that are coming to impose themselves here. And so what they need for their agenda to work is that the on-world agenda of the Vatican and the corporate infrastructure, that needs to play itself out because it suits the other layer of agenda. So this first layer that we're experiencing now with the Vatican, with the Disclosure Project, with the group of extraterrestrials that they want to introduce us to, and the group of interdimensional beings they want to introduce us to, that is going to be looked as the bad guys. But it's just a layer in a much bigger infrastructure. What comes in behind that is what most people are going to initially fall for, but that's the one that I would say we have to be most concerned about. So to me, the Vatican, the corporate infrastructure, the banking infrastructure, and the militarized infrastructure on the planet, for me, I look at that as the problem. The reaction people want now is for that to be taken away and something nice to be put in. And so once that gets taken away and the nice one comes in, that's what most people are going to fall for. And that's the true New World Order. They want to create a passive-aggressive system where everything's beautiful. It's all about love. It's all about freedom. And people don't realise that that's the one that you've got to be concerned about. It's the one that's coming in behind this current, what appears to be a negative charge system, is people are now screaming for the positive white love and light system to come in. And what I'm warning people about is the positive white love and light system that's coming in. That's the one you've got to be careful of, because they do this to planetary systems throughout the cosmos over long periods of time. They'll plunge a planetary system into a very deep and dark negative energy for a long time and create a very big problem for the people and just break the will of the people and totally diminish the will and the capacity of the people to see, to function, to have they diminish their spiritual connections. They totally break down the planetary population over a long period of time. And then what they do is they come in and they implement their positive solutions. So they make people feel like they're free. They give them lots of wonderful things. They give them wonderful technologies. So it's like, wow, there's all this awe and wonder gets created.
But is that exactly what like OPPT it does?
I'd say it's even beyond that. What is coming in behind is so wonderful, so amazingly wonderful. It'll be seemingly so amazingly wonderful. Remember those two words. And the other two words are awe and wonder. These are the four words that you really should take into consideration as to what's coming as the Great Deception. Because we are neither one nor the other. We are beyond both of those paradigms because we are completely sovereign. And the other one that's coming in is going to be very convincing, very convincing. Like the one that's now coming in with the Vatican and their space brothers and the new religion, global religion they want to create on the planet and all that. That's just the negative charge of the synthetic universe. What's coming in behind that is the positive charge of the synthetic universe with all the meditations and the practices of the New Age. And, this is all the stuff that you've got to look out for, the synthetic light programs, the positive white love and light programs of the synthetic universe. That's what you've got to look out for. They are fantastic. They are genius in the way they go about doing things and the programs that they implement. They really know how to coerce a planetary population. And we are beyond all of those programs because we go back to our natural, organic heart, soul essence deep within us. That's all we need to do. And then we know when you have that point of reference, you see all this other stuff for what it is.
So what you're saying is we will go through like some more layers of what we have already today until, like I say, we really have to go and reach the point of duality then.
You do.
Yeah.
And humanity has to do it as a whole because humanity as a whole chose this journey into the synthetic universe. So we need to work through that. We need to work through the synthetic negative dark energies and then we need to work through the synthetic positive white love and light energies. See, we need to work through both of those layers of energy. One's not really above the other. One's really the alter ego of the other. But we need to work through both of those layers or both of those expressions of energy. And that's the challenge for humanity. That's the challenge for everybody. I've been working through that positive white love and light energy for a long time now, working to know myself beyond what people call chakra systems, to know myself beyond what people call kundalini, the serpent energy in the spine. I've been working very hard to get that serpent out of my tree of life because I don't want it in there. I exist beyond that. But people see that as everything. People do their meditations and they have these beautiful samadhi experiences and all these amazing experiences, and they truly believe they're connecting to God. And they don't realize that they're connecting to the God of the synthetic universe because it's truly stimulating. Those experiences are very stimulating. But if you haven't got that other point of reference, we need to understand our organic nature, our just organic, core, natural sense of self of who we are. It's so simple. And
That's
then you
very
move
simple.
on. It is. It's the simplicity is the key.
Yeah.
The simplicity of who and what we are. And that's the problem, Java, because people are so caught up in these programs. They need to be meditating. They need to be looking at all these structured programs because not only the earthly ego identifies itself in it, but when they're looking at archangels and ascended masters and chakra programs and meditations and all this sort of stuff, then their cosmic ego identifies with that. And we got to realize that we all have a cosmic ego. Extraterrestrials have ego. So the ego of us that has been an extraterrestrial in the past, the ego of us that has been an angel and ascended master in the past of this synthetic universe, we need to work through that. We need to identify with that aspect of ourselves and work through that as well, not just the earthly ego. There's another big layer within us that we also need to work through. And it's important that everybody realizes that about themselves. They just got to keep working till they get to their core heart soul essence. And then you just see it. You see it for what it is.
I say life is very simple. It's the humans who make it very complicated. I watch my kids. My biggest teacher are my kids. And it's definitely
Same.
like that. Yeah. And I grew up really out of this system. I grew up in a Steiner school. I don't know if you know that. And,
We have them in Australia.
yeah. And I was really like, with 250 people I lived together, we had completely different rules, like the real, we had different people around, we accepted, respected, and eat good, and no vaccines and all that, it's, so I really, when I came out in the system, I was very surprised, and over 20 years, I didn't know what to do, really, It's like, and not long time ago when I started to talk out, I was like for 2 months or no 1 month I was on Facebook, and I had to understand how the people see the life, how complicated they put everything inside to start to really decode the different stuff. But of course I had to decode myself very much too, and I think in this three-dimensional we will never be finished with that. That is a little bit how I see it. That is the lesson we have to get here, and that's why I'm also able to leave questions open. Like for me, I can say when I know something, it's because I went through, because I had the experience with it. Then I know it. Before, it's just questions, unanswered questions, and I can leave them unanswered. I don't need to say no or yes to something. And that for me personally is all the extraterrestrial. Since very long time I'm very aware that it could be a possibility. But the way I never had the experience, I just leave the question open for me. I think, sure. And like also you talk about it, that even when they appear, you still have to keep your doubt, and only when your heart know it's the right thing, then it will be the right thing. I didn't make the whole I never follow a group, any group. For me, that was like the biggest rule for me to not follow anything, just to co-create and participate. And I never made meditation before. You give me a very important lesson that was not focus on a other light, on a external light, only to focus on my proper light. And that's the point when I start to make meditation and start to travel more around.
Wow.
And before I just it didn't fit for me. I was like, if I tried to meditate, I fall asleep. Was maybe better. And since then, I could start to really going more inside of me, and also like you say, it's very important to not follow like all the new age stuff. It's good to know it, because you always can get something out for you to experience the thing. And that's why I like to go really deep in how people see the world, and just taking out what kind of experience it fits for myself. And also, like you say, something that fit for me today does maybe not for another person. And that is exactly how it goes. Like I say, all the roads going to Rome, but everybody have to take his own. And that is the awakening. You cannot, even all the information I collect over the last 20 years about Illuminati, about the whole system, I can give it to somebody. He will maybe need 1 year instead of or 2 years to watch through everything. But I could not tell him in which order he have to look at it. And that is really a own journey you have to do to get through it. It's no manual for that.
No, at the end of it all, it just comes back to the self and the journey that each person has created for themselves. You know, that we're all on our individual journey, but yet at the same time we're synchronistically totally in resonance with one another and the unfoldment of the universe. It's just amazing how that's the thing with this dualistic universe. It's neither one nor the other. It's both. It's always both, I've found out.
Yeah, you need the black if you want the white.
Yeah.
But that is a lot of people, they just mix it up and you have the gray. Then that's why for me the yin and yang is really, the lines are really separated. Even if it's a dot of white in the black, it's separated. It's not gray. It's not like a mix up of the thing. And a lot of people do that gray, being a little bit of that, accepting the bad and a little bit the good, but trying to do good. And therefore, I think it's very important to be very straight with yourself, to know where is the line of where you want to go. The library of the Vatican. You talk a lot about the Vatican and how you say you experienced the underground of the Vatican. Can you tell more about? Do you think if the library of the Vatican would get open today, first, could we cope it? And secondly,
I would say the way things are going, that things are being relocated already. So because there are people that they know the last pope is now in power, and the prophecies of the Bible are being used as a movie script by the people making the prophecies actually happen in the world. What they do is they consolidate the belief of the followers of the masses. They make the masses believe even more in it because it's come true. They don't realise that it's a movie script and someone's making it happen. So that's the interesting thing that's going on, because there's people that want to make the prophecies come true, and then there's people that can see that they're using it as a movie script and are trying to stop them from making that happen. And that's a very interesting conflict on our planet behind the scenes at the moment between different factions. So as far as the underground information goes, I say that there's critical documents and books and scrolls and artifacts that, if they haven't already been relocated, they're in the process of being relocated, because of the prophecies of the Bible, biblical prophecies, and prophecies outside of the Bible that talk about the fall of Rome. And the fall of Rome doesn't just mean Italy as a country. It actually means the Vatican religious infrastructure, but also the corporate infrastructure that it's created and is responsible for. So there's more to it than that. But looking at it at a very not only simplistic and objective point of view, but very, I would say, from an overstanding point of view, they are anything that's of value to anybody who's in the know. They are already taking care of that. There will be things that will be released, but you got to be careful of anything that gets released these days, because anything could be fabricated as well, convincingly fabricated. Because
you think it's also a false flag, extraterrestrial false flag that will occur?
There's that. A lot of people have been talking about the false flag extraterrestrial invasion event. Is it possible? You know, they're already here. I mean, there's no doubt ETs are amongst us. They've been with us for thousands of years. For me, the whole disclosure thing is a joke, because they're already here. The extraterrestrials have never not been a part of this reality. They've always been here. They've always been, you know, coming and going, and everybody who's incarnate is an extraterrestrial. We all came from somewhere else to come here to incarnate. So really, we're all ETs anyway. Looking at it from, you know, the technical definition of what the word means. I think the ideologies of it all are important to overcome. If we can get the overstanding, as you say, which is, I really like that word, if we get the overstanding and the understanding, so we get from the whole, encapsulate the whole thing, we then come to realise that getting past the ideologies is important. So like I just said to you, the idea of disclosure, of introducing us to extraterrestrials, is a joke, because they're already here. They've always been here. But somebody needs to make that happen to suit their agenda. So the humanity's been dumbed down over the last few centuries to make everybody believe that we're all alone, and that all of a sudden now we're coming across extraterrestrial life for the very first time. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a joke. But that's part of the program. It's part of the greater agenda, because when you can see it from that point of view, you can realise that this has been going on for not only hundreds of years, but this is thousands and thousands. And then you look at the bigger cycles, and this is a program that's, you know, been running here on this planet for, goes right back to the hundreds of thousands of years.
UFOs, when you talk about extraterrestrial, you don't talk a lot about UFOs in this sense, like the flying sources. Is this fully military, or is there both?
Oh, no, today the majority that you see are military, but going back 50 years, the majority that you saw were not military.
Today, so they mostly are militaries, you say?
Mostly today, then, and not just military, but the Vatican has its own fleet. I've been taken to the Vatican in a craft. I was taken there, you know, quite a number of years ago. So, and you know, had to deal with certain things there. So for me, there's a lot of different groups. I'd say there's very wealthy people that have got their own craft as well, like really wealthy people who are the sponsors of some very important, well, in their idea, important, hidden scientific, you know, breaking new frontiers, scientific discoveries and developments. You know, very wealthy people fund these private organisations who are
Keshe
who are involved.
Foundation? Keshe Foundation?
Pardon? I don't know.
No.
I can't say. Yeah.
I will send you a link after. That is the ones who they say they found it to how to build this kind of vehicles. Would be
Yeah,
interesting.
sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of groups behind the scenes who've been, working with the black funded projects, to do, in conjunction with the military. And also there's some private groups that are not involved with the military that for decades now have been funding their own ideas and have their own craft for their own purposes. And as long as they stay out of the way of the military, they've been allowed to do that.
And um, your awakening on your journey, how much Ike, Drunvalo, Bashar helped you to how much is George, and how much did you get out? Oh, of course it is George, but how much did you help this kind of people? That is the ones you mentioned in your interviews. So
Yeah, they helped me a lot at times in my life. When I was in a very difficult time in my life, and they were putting out some really fantastic information, and they helped me a great deal. It was wonderful. I think they've helped a lot of people in this world in fantastic ways. Yeah, I'm very grateful. I already thank David personally. I thanked him for what he did because he's helped me a great deal in my life, and he's also paved the way for many others to follow. And he did the hard yards for a lot of us. Yeah.
Do you know Billy Meyer? Billy Meyer from
I've heard
Switzerland.
of Billy Meyer. Yeah, I looked into his work in late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, I did look into his work back then. It was a long time ago now. Yeah, that's a really, really interesting case. But when you look at those craft, they're the type of craft helps you to understand the type of beings, the level, and the technology that's being used. Because there's different types of technology that gets used with the craft. And yeah, he's definitely in contact. There's no doubt about that in my mind, in my heart. He's in contact with beings. Yeah. I don't think he's a fraud. I think there's a lot of, it's like anybody who's gets close to presenting a case where the common person can understand, which is what Billy was doing, that's when they get attacked by the media, by other people. And that's what I've noticed is going on. I'm experiencing that myself now. When you put out information that a lot of people can start to comprehend and understand and get access to, that's when they start to really go for you. And I think that's what happened to Billy.
Yeah, but since a while they found out how to protect themselves. I think was 20 years ago when I was the first time there. In the Hinterschmid-Rütli. That is the name of the place. Amazing. Billy Meyer they even had documentaries from United States, so they had to say that name. Unpronounceable. Very funny. So today, what do you think, who play which role from the Masonics, royal dynasty, and what do you think, what the people who search a little bit, what kind of level in the pyramid there we can reach? Because for me, it's like how I said, the Illuminatis, they are not even in the middle of the pyramid. And that is like what we can see from what is really going on above. Or again, we always talk about the pyramid. I talked not long time ago with somebody who see it more like a stone with like the both opposites on it. It's not the pyramid. The whole power structure is like more like a peak up and go down. It's not like the pyramid. That is what they want us to make to believe. Believe is lie in belief. So what do you think? can we reach to know what is really in the power structure today?
Well, here's a really interesting piece of information that some people will find disturbing and other people will just make sense. As far as bloodlines go, when it comes to the creator of the universe and when it comes to Christ and Magdalene, for example, they did not have children. I at one stage thought that they did, but the more that I connect with Magdalene and Christ energy, and the more I understand the consciousness and the intentions of these beings and the way their behavior, their characteristics of those, the consciousness, and the beings when they chose to incarnate, when they came to the planet, was they would never have had children, simply because they would never have wanted to create a child that would put one person above another, that would make one person better than another. It's not their way. So I'm totally not just convinced, in a place of knowing that they never had children, that is a lie. And when you go before that into the line of David, and you got this idea, and that's exactly what it is. It's an idea that you have these royal bloodlines that are through these. It's like a bloodline of kings, which my bloodline, for example, is one of those bloodlines on my father's side. So what makes me better than anybody else? I'm talking from incarnating inside a bloodline which is considered to be, not that it's considered to be in the public arena, but when you look back through my personal bloodline on my father's side, going through the great patriarchal priestly kings through in Greece, then you realise that you have a knowing in your DNA, in your cellular programming, in your DNA codes, what's going on, because you know yourself inside. And then I realised that it's a whole idea that's been concocted by aristocracy to put themselves above the general masses, so that they're better, and then they can also have the implementation of this rule that's called the divine right to rule over people, because the divine right comes from the bloodline being put in place by God, and the intentions of God to put a bloodline in place to rule over the people. See? And this is the way they've been able to, by promoting that idea, by propagating that idea, by keeping the idea and the romance and the concept of royalty, royal bloodlines, grail bloodlines, special bloodlines, holier than thou bloodlines, by keeping that illusion and the romance of it all going, that is what they fall back on to separate them when push comes to shove over holding their position over the people. Divine right to rule.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that is a lie.
Because
that is a complete lie. So as far as I'm concerned, royal bloodlines are only self-appointed egocentric bloodlines. And they are no better than anybody else. They are equal to the person that scrubs their toilet. The person that scrubs their toilet is equal to the king sitting on the throne, to the queen sitting on the throne. Equal. The king and the queen are no better than the slave that is in service to them in their palaces. No better. And if they want to continue to enamor to live in this enamored ego, on this deluded enamored ego that they are better than the person that scrubs their toilet, then they better have a really good look at themselves in the mirror, because they are not worthy of ruling if that's how they think.
Is that not also an insight, like inside the royal blood is also a lot of illusion, and I see it a little bit in this kind of paradigm we are in, is if you are too good, you want to be good, so you also accept that the ones who try to make it, you step back and you don't fight in a way. So it is like you call the suppression of the feminine is like the same. If you are too good, then you just get pushed down in a way inside the royalties.
Yeah, because they need to keep their agenda going. They have you see, the royal families are governed by a hidden hand. The royal families are like presidents and prime ministers. They're just appointed, and sure, they have this so-called divine right to rule because of the bloodline thing, but who put them there in the first place? Who put their bloodline in there in the first place? You see, there's a shadow that lives in the shadows, and that is the hidden hand that controls the global infrastructure. And it's very, very important for people to realize that we are all equal and no one is better than anybody else, and that this whole idea and concept of royalty and divine right to rule is one big illusion created by the shadow who hides in the shadows.
Yeah, the hidden hand. Can you give a little description about what is the third dimension when it switched to the fourth and fifth? How I see it is we are in the third dimension, the whole complicated stuff. The fourth is like the switch from the dead when you die, and the fifth would be the one when you are full consciousness again. Our soul would be fifth dimension. Could be that something?
Yeah, for me, the soul is way beyond the fifth dimension. I experience an aspect of myself, what I call the higher self. So I have, and this is where it might get a bit complicated, but I'm trying to get people to understand what I experience as the structure or the infrastructure that I experience in the universe. And that is that we have this part of us here, and then we have what we call our astral, which is the next level. But then we have what we call spirit. And that spirit is the part of us that is traveling through the great arena, is what I call it, or the universal matrix. And so that's spirit that travels through that and incarnates in the different places. But above that is the higher self, which is in the fifth dimension, and sixth and seventh. Now above that, you say is the soul.
Above the fifth, from the fifth on, you're like in the higher consciousness, but there also you have different layers then.
Yeah, you're still different layers, but totally one with the creator. There is no concept of evil. There is no technology. There is no shadows. There is no dark and light the way you know it. It's just a completely different state of being. Yeah. And there are no stars. There is no day and night. There are no stars. I mean, even in the third dimension or fourth dimension, you can go to places where there's no day and night, because you've got some planets that don't spin. They just stay as they are. So some people live in constant light. Others live in the shadows on the same planet. There's all different constructs everywhere depending on the way that reality needs to be set up. But when it comes to understanding the fourth and the fifth here in this world today, what's really important to understand that is what we are doing is we are a fractal of the universe, and what we have got going on within us is the implosion of all the dimensions. So right now, there's moments in this conversation when you and I have been expressing our third dimensional state mostly. There's times when you and I have been expressing our fourth dimensional state. And then there's moments when you and I have been expressing our fifth dimensional state, depending on how we're emanating the energy we emanate and how deeply we're speaking from our heart and how at times we speak from the head. So the more we express and emanate ourselves from in here, our heart, soul, essence in here, that's when we're fifth and above. So we're bringing more of our fifth dimensional and sixth and seventh dimensional and eighth and ninth dimensional selves here into this reality. That's the whole idea, is to bring more of it here, bring them all together to merge them as one. So we become completely universal in our emanation, in our expression.
But we are still bounded to the third dimension.
No, that's in the place of being integrated into this complete universal expression. So that's no longer going to be the dominant either. That's disappearing. Because at the end of the process, when everything does implode and totally integrate, you know, the whole planet's going to be different as well. It's going to be emanating this universal light that from the third dimension, it'll look like a star, but very different to any other star. It'll have a very unique light because the light that will emanate from the earth will be all of the dimensions harmonized as one universal logos.
You said that the Earth, when we shift to the fifth dimension completely with the whole planet and humanity, this planet would be completely like a dead star.
Like light.
Or light.
Like a star, body of light.
Yeah, but
I've always said a body of light.
A body of light, but that would not be like the with trees and so on.
Yeah, well, in our environment, we will still see trees.
Yeah, we don't
but
know.
The trees will be,
we don't know what
well,
we
the trees,
see finally.
Yeah, but the trees will be different as well. There'll still be a natural environment, but it'll be completely different in its makeup, in its construct, in its behavior. You know, animals won't kill other animals in order to survive. Animals won't eat plants. Plants won't eat from the soil. Everything will be emanating pure universal expression. So you'll have tree beings that will completely express universal energy as a tree being. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And from the lower dimensions, we will be looked upon as a body of light. The whole planet will just look like a star. Not like the stars we see today. It will look different. But it will. I'm just using that as an analogy, just so people get a bit of an idea. You look out into the cosmos, you see a body of light. What do we call that? We call it a star. The way the expression of light will emanate from this being that we call Mother Earth, and from us collectively, it'll also be a symphony of all our lights together as well. So it's going to be a very, very unique expression when it does happen.
When I hear that, I think 2 years ago, and how I see it also was like we always talk about time and space. So what I also saw is like in the way is spinning up always faster. In the time, the planet 2 years or even 4, when we maybe to say it was 3 years ago, would not be the same planet than now. Or
totally
in the future, and that's why I could leave that like you how I get it, that it was like a dead planet, and that we always go further in a thing, and in the time when you say it could be correct, that from the past it would be like a dead star, because you could not going back in a kind of when the dimensions and the whole thing is changing. The past is also different then.
Yeah, Jaba, I don't think I personally ever said it was going to look like a dead planet. I had a friend, I publicly said that a friend said that that's what they think it's going to look like, and that I disagreed with him, and that I said it was going to look like a body of light. So for my friend, I got a friend who thinks from the third dimension, it'll just look like Mars, like a dead planet. But I still differ with that opinion. I think it's going to be an expression of light that all the dimensions will be able to see, and it will be such a unique expression in the universe. It'll be the only one of its kind for now. You know what I mean? Because it's the first one to achieve this state of beingness.
How much the Matrix is still, or how can we say, how much we are all in the Matrix, how you see it in the Matrix movie, you know, that is like when you discover a lot of things and you look back some years or even sometimes some months, it's like, oh, I came way further and I see the whole Matrix behind, and then it's always happening the same. So after 2 months, you look 2 months back again, it's like, oh shit. So, you know, in this way, is the picture of still being very much manipulated, or even having no clue about what is really going on. How could we put, how could define this?
I don't know if I completely understood your question, but you said about time speeding up. You said about how we look back and how everything is so different. Is that right?
Yeah. And so how much we are still in the Matrix?
In the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
If it's really the Matrix that we see, or if it's do we start to see like the real what is going on?
Yeah, well, I look around now and I see the Matrix, but I also see what's really going on. And I also see how much I'm changing, how others are changing. I see how much the world is changing. I've seen in our lifetime how much the sun has changed from a golden yellow to a white. That's a huge thing. Like, I mean, just think about that for a moment. Our sun has changed color. Isn't that incredible?
Amazing, yeah.
It's amazing. How many people are taking notice of that?
No, of many things they don't taking note of.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Every day, there it is. It lights up their world every day. It provides the warmth. It grows their food. And how many people are taking notice of it?
It's because they changed sunglasses. They didn't see the sun changing. I had
that's a good one.
I had a band over 20 years. The name was Moon Races. So I was completely in the moon, and even my daughter is Luna, in also moon.
Wow.
In Spanish.
Yeah.
And when I stopped the band and stuff, and I really start to more making research, and I came across what you were saying about the moon. Makes sense like that. Can you tell more about the moon and this? Yeah.
Well, it's a good question because it still ties in with the Matrix question, which I didn't quite get to finish answering.
Sorry.
So, yeah, we are still quite immersed in the Matrix. The Matrix answer is very important, and the moon has obviously got a big part to play in that. And so here we have this object that's been put into orbit around the Earth to, pull on the oceans, but also to, excuse me, you'll have to excuse me there.
So,
but also to, this always happens when I get excited and I got to talk my my passion.
you have to defend your Shrek side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And so this object has been put around the Earth, and I mean, for anybody to understand that, people think, oh, no, the moon is a natural object. And it's like, come on, I don't know what I can use to explain it. But if let's say you use the mouse, okay? So let's say the mouse is the moon, and the moon, let's say it's going around my head, right? So let's say this is the face of the moon. Oh, let's say this is the face of the moon that we always see. There's the dark side of the moon, right? Okay. So if my head's the Earth and the moon's going around, that means we are only ever seeing one side of the moon, don't we? We never get to see the dark side of the moon, which means when you look at what I'm doing, okay, it's turning, right? It's turning. So the moon is spinning on its axis. So one side can always only ever be seen. If the moon didn't spin on its axis and just stayed put, as it went around the Earth, as it went around the Earth, we would end up seeing the dark side of the moon because the moon is not spinning.
No.
It's just spinning around the Earth, but not spinning on its axis. So the moon needs to spin on its axis. So one side of the moon will always be hidden with one rotation of the Earth. So it spins exactly one rotation with one full rotation of the Earth,
It
one
does
orbit
not
of the
exist
Earth.
in the universe.
How precise does that have to be? That by just miraculous coincidence, an object floating by in space happens to just somehow end up on an orbit that is exactly engineered in this manner. There is no way that thing is a natural occurring object. And the other one is how it positioned itself exactly at a distance where you get the eclipse effect. So the diameter of the moon is exactly the same as the diameter of the sun when we look at it from the surface. If it was a little bit, just a few kilometers this way, you wouldn't get the eclipse. You just totally black out the sun. If it was a few kilometers further out, then you would see a thick band of the sun around the moon and you wouldn't really get the eclipse effect that we get. So the positioning is absolutely perfect. It's perfectly engineered. There is no way, if anybody with a scientific background or a mathematical background wanted to have a look at the mathematics involved, at the chances of that happening, anybody with any form of common sense or logic whatsoever will tell you that that whole thing has to be engineered. There is no way that could be a natural orbit. And then, of course, you've got the fact that it's coincidentally totally plugged into the menstrual cycles of women. Gee, what a coincidence, you know? I mean, these are three massive, massive clues that just give the whole thing away. But because people don't think about it, they're too busy thinking about the football or, you know, the stock market or whatever, and they don't think about these things. But there it is, hidden in plain sight for everyone to see every day. And so here we have this object that's been placed around the Earth, specifically engineered to create a specific type of environment on the Earth as well. See, energetic environment. And so we have this matrix energy, this matrix, this net of energy that goes from the moon, around the moon and around the Earth. And we're enclosed within the energetic pattern of the orbit of the moon. And it's an incredible matrix. And, you know, we not only have that matrix, so, you know, that's what I would call more the earthly matrix. That's the matrix of the corporatized mind and the, you know, people being really ambitious and also, you know, dogmatic religious structures. The moon creates all that framework or energetic framework, all the templates to facilitate those sorts of ideas are created by the moon. And the next matrix that we need to bring into consideration beyond the moon-Earth matrix is the cosmic matrix. And it's a very, very big matrix because there's the matrix that I'm talking about. There's two other matrices that are beyond the moon matrix. There's the cosmic matrix of the synthetic universe, and then there's the universal matrix, which is organic in nature. It's part of God's creation. But the synthetic universe is someone else's creation, but God is facilitating for that to be created within its own universal embodiment, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that part, the synthetic universe, resides in the negative charge of the organic universal matrix. And that's a really big understanding for people to begin to contemplate overstanding for people to begin to contemplate, because once you realize that there's two different types of dark energy or negative types of energy, then the inner conflict of trying to reconcile darkness comes to an end. Because we know that there's an honorable side to the darkness. We know about the great serpent, not the serpent, the snake serpent in religion. That's the serpent of the synthetic universe. That's the synthetic dark, negative dark energy, the synthetic universe. But then there's the great serpent known as Quetzalcoatl, known as the rainbow serpent of Aboriginal law, Quetzalcoatl of American Indian law. There's this aspect of the creator which is honored and revered greatly, and it's not into debauchery and masochistic ideas and sadistic ideas. It's not into that. It has this honorable, upfront, honest nature about it. Does it provide challenges for beings in the universe? Of course it does. But it's not a manipulative, deceptive energy. It's the kind of energy that will say to you, okay, the way it provides a challenge will be like, here is a mountain and you have to climb it. It's going to hurt. You're going to get very tired. You're going to be very exhausted. You might fall and hurt yourself. But here's the mountain and you need to climb it to learn your lesson. Off you go. So it's always going to be honest about the negativity it places before you. And you go and you experience it, and then you come out of that experience and you go, wow, that was incredible. You know, which reality can I go into now to have my next challenge? Right? So that's the honorable dark. That's the organic dark. That's the dark, the negative dark charge, which is an expression of the universal creator itself. And then we have this other energy, which is from a being that came from outside the universe, like we all have. We've all come from outside the universe to come into it, to experience it. And it's been allowed to create or replicate its own version of the universe within this universe. And the way it goes about doing things is vastly different. It's taken the organic dark energy and it's turned it into something masochistic, sadistic, debaucherous, manipulative. It's a totally different flavor, a totally different expression. And it's taken the positive charge of the universe and it's turned it into something self-righteous, something authoritarian, and self-serving. It's a completely different flavor of white love and light. It's conditional in its love. Is it love? Yes, but it's conditional in its love. So it has like I said, it has a different approach. Very, very fascinating and interesting and revelatory to really be able to identify the difference between these energies.
Yeah, may make very much sense. How I explain to the people is our five senses are just electronic impulses in our brain. Like what I'm searching is really to explain to people who have no clue what is really going on. That is a little bit my challenge to find stuff they can comprehend in this sense. And this kind of things you can watch for yourself. It's very easy. The supercomputer in the brain and the touching, the feeling, the tasting, the smelling, and that is the matrix itself. It have to be that we can see and touch and use the tools and live on this planet, breathe the air. But that for me, this like the first layer that is put on ourselves, and then, like you say, there are the different matrix done, and they are just programs in a way. It's just learning programs, and also in a way that we see time and space so completely different. Like I say, for a soul, the lifetime we have for let's say 80 years is like an hour for the soul. but it's very exhausting, so they have to have to rest a little bit before they can incarnate. That is like when you can say about a soul need to maybe 10,000 years of rest before it can incarnate again and making a next experience. And that is, time and space is very difficult to understand in this third dimension, I think. But this is very clever program.
Yeah, I still feel that the human body, and not in its exact format we have it now, because there are some bits that have been changed and manipulated, like the pineal gland is a foreign body. It's not a natural part of my makeup. That's why my pineal gland is calcifying, because my body's rejecting it. I don't drink fluoridated water, you know, and so the reason half the world doesn't drink fluoridated water, and the reason why all their pineal glands are calcifying, is because their bodies are rejecting it. So the conspiratorial idea that fluoride in the water is calcifying the pineal gland, maybe it does on one level, but it's not the sole reason for the calcification of pineal glands in the human race. But somebody wants to make it the sole reason, and there's an agenda there. But you know, for me, that's not my third eye. My third eye is my heart, soul, essence, right here, inside of me. That's my true third eye, my personal eye of God. That's in here, in my heart, not in my head. So you know, when I look at the planet and I connect with the consciousness of the planet, and I go inside of me and I connect with my humanity and with nature, that's not part of the matrix. Well, you could say it's part of the organic universal matrix, but it's not part of the matrix of the artificial. What we are being assimilated through our mind is into the artificial and synthetic universe through the artificial matrix. But the organic nature of our bodies and our relationship with our mother planet, that's organic, that's natural. That's part of the process. That's why I want to stay with my Mother Earth. When all the big changes start to happen, I want to stay with my Mother Earth, because I want to birth through the womb of my mother planet. I'm not looking at jumping on a ship and going off world anywhere else.
Where do we heading, George?
I probably just answered that in a summary.
But in the
near
near future, what you see is coming up. I think a lot of people want to know that, and I think you answer a lot of questions. How it will appear with all this. I call them all false flag until we get the real truth. And I think there are many to come now. And but in a way, like how I see, like only the Boston one, so many people just saw it straight up without having any influence of anything. They just like, but come on, that cannot be, you know. But a lot.
It's almost like their intuition kicked in straight away, and people intuitively just felt that, come on, something's not right about what the media is saying. We can feel, we can sense there's something's not right here.
But don't they do it for purpose? I almost see it. They won't make now people, come on, now we have to see it. So do we have to give more evidence or even more evidence? And anytime something happens like that, it's always like more, and the media is just playing more down. But it's almost like the Dark One want that the people start to see it, like, come on guys, what we have to do to make it more obvious now, this time, and it's always more obvious. I don't know if it's my awakening state, but I see also how the people react. People are posting out stuff on Facebook they never would put out something like that about, and suddenly they do it, and they start to really awake. So is that part of the process?
Yeah, it is. There's an element of the dark side that really wants to. They know they're in service to humanity. They provide the challenges, and that's their role. And they want to see humanity, excuse me, awaken and move on because that frees them from this agreement, from this contract of service to humanity. You see, when we release ourselves from the darkness is also released from us. That's a really beautiful thing to understand about that magic formula of life in this universe. But the amazing thing about the Boston bombing too is that people have already posted photos that they used of the suspects, but then you see the photo of the blown up backpack, and there's a white square on a black backpack, and you've seen the pictures that I'm talking about. And then there's a guy with he's got the earpiece and he's got the hat, and he's standing there with that same backpack on. And the guys who have been accused of it, there's photos showing them, and they've got completely different backpacks than the one that actually blew up, right? So the proof is there that somebody working for the security organization is the one who did it. It's quite amazing. I'm amazed at how quick people are to be alert and to be awake and to be onto it. And I feel that this is what I spoke to Cynthia yesterday afternoon. I said, I was outside just looking at the trees and all that and just feeling into things. And then all of a sudden I had this understanding that we have now, with the internet, the ability to communicate so quickly. So everybody's seeing, people can have a voice, and the internet now is a very, very big problem for the agenda. So I think it's not going to be too long before they start working at shutting the internet down. Whenever they're going to say it's because of national security that they have to shut the internet down
it will just
after a major event. After a major event. Because what they've done now is they're banning cameras, telephones, iPads at events in America, right? They've got the horse race, the Kentucky Derby, and they're going to confiscate people's cameras and everything, because what that means is that if something does happen, then all these people shooting all the evidence of what's going on has to be taken away, because they want to sell the story to the public, the story that they want the public to see, because the public is now undermining their stories by showing the real chain of events that occurred through everybody having photo cameras and phones that can take footage and record, and isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
So, and what else is interesting, that a lot of people who were there that had cameras, that had iPads and all that at the Boston Marathon, everybody who was detained afterwards, the whole area, they all had to hand all their phones in. So if somebody had some really good footage of what happened, it wasn't allowed to be, they couldn't take it home with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They couldn't, even though it's like me being there with my phone.
Nobody hear about that.
Yeah, me being there with my phone and taking the footage, and then someone comes along and says, we've got to take that from you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that means the truth of what happens doesn't get out of the immediate vicinity of the event. So they're starting to crack down on people having access to recording events. And I think the next phase of it is going to have to be the way we communicate with one another and the way information is distributed over the internet, because it gives people a really, really good opportunity to undermine the fake stories.
A little last question.
Not just undermine them, but to expose that they're lying to us, and an opportunity for the truth to be heard.
But don't you think it will just get way worse if they would shut down internet now?
Yeah, it would collapse the economy. There's no doubt about that. So it'll get to the point where they'll try and coordinate the two together.
But people would just get it straight up. If they would shut down the internet, they would know that that the people don't. They would find out straight up more about.
No, but if an event, Jaba, if an event occurs, which looks like the internet is shut down as a result of the event,
yeah,
you know, like a huge EMF or something major that happens on the planet, which they can then blame that for the shutting down of the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
then
it's like anonymous. It's like this. It's the same fake story, you know. It's like everybody can be anonymous, and this is probably the government to create that, to blame anybody for anything what they want, because all the attacks that Anonymous made is all like, oh, they attack a bank, oh, they attack this, but nobody saw the result of Anonymous, you know. It's like they just can't say anything like, oh, the Fed get attacked and we need to increase the security, blah blah. I'm just, a lot of people they coping this anonymous story just because they arrest some guys and say this one's the anonymous, but the guys we never hear what they were saying about, you know. They never talk without the mask, so how do you know who is really behind? They can arrest just
exactly
anybody.
It's like I recently saw footage of when they caught Colonel Gaddafi, supposedly caught Colonel Gaddafi. And I saw it on the media that it's the anniversary of his capture or something along those lines. And then they showed Gaddafi, and then they showed the person when they were beating him up and all that sort of business. And the guy that was getting beaten was half the age of the Gaddafi that you saw before he was, you know, taken down by the UN or by the US. You think, it's a body double. Didn't anyone think to have a look at the person's face and see how he had no wrinkles? He had the same looking hair and the eyes were similar, but Gaddafi's face was really bad with wrinkles. He looked really old, you know, and this guy had a young body, smooth face. What's going on? It was a totally different person. I spotted that in an instant just yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's the first time I saw that footage, because we don't get television where we live. I just look at whatever I want to look at on the internet. But, you know, it's really quite amazing how I'd never seen it before, that footage, and there I spotted it instantly. It's a body double. So how can people not see that? It's a younger person that's being beaten and shot. And when the body was lying there for people to walk around to have a look at the face. It's in a body bag, but the face was shown for people to walk around and have a look. It was no wrinkles like Gaddafi had. Like, come on. Hello.
I think Gaddafi, the brainwash of Gaddafi worked very well on me, because I also know, now I know why this occurred. Because when I was 8 or so, we hear in the radio that Gaddafi will attack Europe with his rubber boats, you know. And I keep that very long time, even if I was aware on many things that was happening. I didn't got it until a very long time, and suddenly I realized from where all these emotions cut you off from the reality, and the emotions are created through fear and traumas that you had in your child. So in this sense, even if I was aware of many things, but was even going on in Syria and stuff, and I suddenly was like, I even had a guy here who read the book of Gaddafi, the Green Book, and say, this guy is genius, he have a very good idea. I was like, no, it's impossible, this guy is a dictator and blah, 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 blah. Only because I had this fear of when I was a child, and for me, it could not change. Impossible he could be like a good person. I don't say he was a good person, but he was at least not what all the media was saying about them. And the Gaddafi program worked really well on me. I have to say. I think.
Well, that's great that you can be honest and say that publicly too. That's very shows the level of wisdom and courage and internal integrity that you have.
Yeah.
Because there's it's very good that you can do that, and it helps people to identify with that too, that they fell for it too. So by listening to you, that's wonderful. Because, yeah, sure, I agree with you. I'm sure there was aspects to Gaddafi that we would totally be in disagreement with him about. He, on some level, he probably was a bit of a difficult person to, to live under in a country. But when you actually speak to people and what he actually did for that country, yeah, I don't see how he could possibly have been the totally ruthless and out of control dictator that the Western media made him out to be. I think to a degree he was a bit of a dictator, but nothing like nowhere near what they were going on.
I think Obama killed in 4 years more people than Gaddafi in 40 years. And also, a simple example I make to the people: you go on YouTube and you put the Gaddafi Tripoli drive-through Tripoli. It's a video of 15 minutes. He's out of the car, greet the people, and they shoot even in the air and Gaddafi, and you see 1.5 minute of Obama when he crossed New York with 150 policemen. And you ask the people, who the people like more, Obama or Gaddafi? 100% of the people say Obama, Obama, Obama. But why? If he would be really so loved, he could be standing out the car, no problem. He don't need the 150 policemen. And that is a very good example to give to the people that, what is going on finally? You know, the guy, 1.5 minutes, he needs so much protection, and Gaddafi can just stand out of the car, greet the people, drive through Tripoli. That is a little bit what is going on. I think you have your next interview soon, so I will let you go. Have a little.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
And thank you so much.
10 minutes more if you wanted to.
Sorry?
I can go another 10 minutes if you have another question that you.
One I have is a little bit about abduction and how much people face this kind of experience or trauma or whatever it is. But what do you think? How much people face that and having dreams about it, or is that for everybody?
Way more than you can imagine. The amount of people that are being interfered with, not only physically taken out of their beds, but also their astral bodies taken out of their bodies into craft, and then also the manipulation in dream states is amazing. The degree that is going on in this world is just amazing. It's really, at the moment, it's moving more into the dream state. I would say the bulk of the physical abductions is now starting to slacken off. It's easing off a little bit because there was a huge rush by a lot of lower vibratory races to do a lot of genetic study on the human race and blend their genetics. Now that our vibration has increased, there's a lot of the lower vibratory extraterrestrial races and interdimensional races, like from the first and second dimensions, that no longer have access to us because we are just too much. They look at us and we are light beings now. And going back a few decades, they still had access to us, but now they no longer have access to us. So, people look around, they think nothing's changing. Well, we've changed a lot. And there's a lot of races who no longer can be near us because of our energy's too much for them. So there's something to really consider. And we don't notice the changes as much because we're in the changes. It's like when you get on a plane and you fly to, from one part of the world to the other, you're in there, you're with the people, you watch a movie, you have a meal, and the plane lands. Oh, now I'm in another country, in another part of the world. And you didn't really take much notice of the process of the jet hurtling through the air and the freezing over the wings and the cold air and the You didn't take much notice of the external processes. You just worried about your immediate surroundings. And that's what's happening in the world. We're more concerned about our immediate surroundings and not understanding that from the outside looking in, we are actually moving quite rapidly and changing quite prolifically. And so the dream states, the astral abductions and the dream states is more of the focus now for a lot of the more sophisticated end, because to have an implant in your body or something like that, that's very low level technology. Now they're more interested in ethereal implants, astral implants, astral manipulation of people, the mental manipulation of people, access through dream states. Like I said, they create holographic realities. You'll notice that in some of your dreams you get taken into reality and you're having this experience that a lot of the time makes no sense at all. You're meeting people who you think that they're people, but they don't look like the people, but you think they're people but it's not people and you're having all these weird interactions, some of them unpleasant, most of them unpleasant. And then you come back from that and you think, what was that all about? That was all weird and twisted. And that's because our mind can't quite comprehend or decode that we were taken into a holographic reality, our part of our psyche was, and we were having this experience in a holographic reality created by a extraterrestrial or interdimensional race that wants to either play with us or program us or manipulate us for their purposes. So there's more, and also they get the opportunity to plant energetic implants into our energetic systems. That's why getting rid of the chakras is so important, because for me now, because I did that already, for me now is, and not just getting rid of them, ending my relationship with them, transcending beyond the need for that cosmic software program you call a chakra system. A lot of people can't believe that that's true. We're totally programmed into thinking that they're a part of us and that we can't live without them. That creates total dependency on them, that mindset. And that's a lie. That's a complete lie that you can't live without them. I'm living happily without them. I'm getting feedback from people who all the time who are moving beyond their chakras. They're transcending they're metamorphosizing their structure, their energetic structure, because they no longer need the chakra system. They're done with it, that program. And where the chakras lead to, into the synthetic universe. They're done with that. We don't need that program anymore. Others might still need it because they need to go there and explore and venture the synthetic universe further. But I've done that. I'm done with that. I don't need it anymore. So I don't need chakras anymore. That's a thing of the past for me and for many. You'd be surprised how many are doing this at the moment.
No, I see it. I would, like I say, I was never into this kind of things if I didn't really feel it right for me. So I never used this kind of things. My wife a little bit more. And I was like more like, no, we just need our heart, we just need our own energy, and I was going to different people, and they was like, now I'm gonna fix your chakras, and in the way I was like more staying in that heart state. That for me, I know that worked very good to also protect myself from other influence or stuff, and I let my mind very open and protect my body. So sometimes with the mind it spins around, and I see sometimes I get also influence like in what I get back, and I feel like how my heart is not that proper anymore, how I can say. One time I went to somebody who wanted to fix my chakras and stuff, and afterwards I had to really clean out my heart again. It was like almost like with oil, around. I had to really clean it out.
Sludge.
Yeah. And that is I see. It can also come from the mind, even if your body is really protected and you let your mind spinning around in ideas that is not really go through. And you talk about the first and the second dimension, and that is something we don't really hear a lot.
No, you don't. You don't. Let me put it this way. Do you really believe that some reptilians or greys or insect beings or even angelic looking beings, well, they're more fourth dimensional beings, but let's say are really heavy-duty reptilian or grey or some insect being or some really gnarly lion-type being, feline being, do you really believe that an extraterrestrial or entities or interdimensional beings like that actually come from a higher dimension than what we are existing in now? You know?
Yeah.
To think that we are at the bottom of the bottom is the lie, is the great lie that all these races are propagating into the psyche of humanity. They are trying to sell that idea and say that we are at the bottom of the bottom, and that is a total lie. No, there are where we came into this road to compression, this path to compression that we embarked on, was the platform or the arena that was used was the third dimension, and that's what was needed. But there's two dimensions below, and that's where these really dark and awful beings come from. They are not above us, even though they would have you believe that they are. That is just a lie. We are, sorry to interrupt, we are not at the bottom. We are in the womb, in the belly, in the womb of the divine feminine. It is a different, this galaxy is a galactic womb. It's a galaxy which is a fractal of the universe. Every single other galaxy out there has been fractalized, a fractal has been made of every single other galaxy out there into a star system. It's been condensed and compressed its expression into a star system and inserted into this galaxy. We are living in the most dense reality because of compression, not because we are at the bottom.
I explain it also in a way that about the frequency we are in. It's like also if you take magic mushrooms or LSD, the whole senses, you start to see way more things. Personally, it helped a lot because I could experience stuff. I don't really need it anymore today, you know. It's like but suddenly because you had an idea of like it's like when you travel somewhere, you want to recreate the same when you're coming back, and like our perception of the five senses is very little in this sense in the third dimension. I see like also how Ike is explained the whole reptilian stuff, and so it's incomprehensible for the people because they didn't experience like the real low vibration, and that is like the state. I think if you go really down with your vibration, you can see anything what is really in the low vibration, like reptilians or really the bad stuff, and the same that you can see also in the high vibration to see more the light beings or the things. And the tricky part is like that a lot of people in the New Age and so they're seeing the angels, but they're seeing the false light angel, and that is I learned that from you too, to make a difference between this different false light and the real light, and definitely I think the most important is coming back to the heart state. I also explain the heart thinking with the heart.
Exactly.
And that was
and seeing with the heart, seeing with the heart, thinking with the heart, and being the heart.
That I think that is a very good lesson, and I thank you very much for this lesson. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a lot of things we just crossing and learning out from it. And like you said before, I think you say that too, that you can say something today and completely change your opinion tomorrow, and have no problem to admit that yesterday was wrong. And that is one of the most tricky programs also, that the people are not allowed to make any errors. But
isn't that crazy?
That is amazing.
That's just like you have to be a robot and everything you do has to be absolutely perfect every step of the way. That's just insane. That's not real.
It's just
that's false. That's a false ideology.
Yeah, it's mistaken. So if you mistake, you just next time you... Okay, George, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for the discussion, and I hope to talk to you very soon. If you want to say something...
Yeah, Jaba, it was an absolute pleasure and a joy.
Thank you.
And It was great crossing paths with you down here in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen each other for a while, but it's been lovely and a joy to my heart. Thank you very much.
And greetings
Just
to
want
Cynthia
to
also.
appreciate that. And my love to everybody who's going to watch and listen to this wonderful conversation you and I shared here this evening and morning for you. Yeah, our love, well, I'll speak on my behalf, but I'm sure you feel the same way, that our love for everybody is eternal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
you so much. Talk to you soon.
Slow down. Everybody just keep reading.